Hi and welcome to Quilting with Lori. My name is Lori Dickman and today we are on part 12 of my beginning quilting class. Today we're going to be learning the stained glass heart block, and what a great block to learn right before Valentine's Day. I can't wait to show you how to put this together. For those of you who are just new to my channel and are not familiar with my beginning quilting class, you'll want to go back to the introduction class, which gives you the supplies and the introduction information on this class. And then there are 11 other classes you'll want to check out. I've got all the videos linked below in the playlist. But we started with some very simple blocks and we're going to more complex blocks. These actually are all of the blocks we've done so far, and we are finishing today with the stained glass heart block. So we've learned curved piecing, triangles, all sorts of fun things, different types of applique. It's been a very fun class and I hope you've all enjoyed it. So now let's go to my tabletop here and see what supplies we need for this block and what I have put together. There are PDFs in the description box below each of the videos, so make sure as you're going through these classes that you get into the description box and either print or save, download those PDFs so that you have the instructions for each of these 12 classes as well as the PDFs if there are. Some of the classes didn't require PDFs and some of them did. But make sure that you gather it all. I like to keep all of my things in a notebook, and this is the blocks that we've been working on, and these are the blocks that we have actually created. So I have everything ready to go here. The last class that we'll be doing for this quilt is actually all of these wonderful sashings and cornerstones and the border. So we'll be getting to that in just a few weeks. But let's take a look at what we need for today's block. In the introduction class, I talked to you about fabrics, and you can choose whatever you want. I have simply gone to my scrap stash and pulled remnants of scraps that I've had in my stash. So this is what I'm going to be using today, and these are the colors that you saw in the blocks that I have done already. And we do have templates for today's class, although I've given you the instructions in the dimensions actually in the instructions on what size rectangles and squares that you can cut, so you really don't have to use plastic film and create these templates, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. So what I have done in the instructions, I've let you know what you need to cut out from your background fabric. This is my background fabric from your light pink, and you may be substituting multiple different fabrics. All of you have your own fabric selections, but I'm using a light pink here and a medium pink, and then this is my dark fabric. These are the fabrics that I have chosen for the block. So as you go through the instructions in the PDF, it explains, I've got to turn it this way so I can read it. You're going to cut a square from your light background fabric that is 2 3/4 inches, and then just cut it on the diagonal. And that's what I have done for this. I'm going to use both of those triangles in the upper corners of my block. You're going to cut a square that is 3 1/2 inches and cut it on the diagonal. You're only going to actually use one of those triangles for this block. The other one you can save, put it in your scrap stash. And then you're going to cut a 5-inch square from your background fabric and cut it on the diagonal, and it's going to be the bottom 2 corners to finish off the block. So that's what you're doing with your background fabrics. You're cutting from the light pink. You're going to cut one that is 3 1/2 inches by 5 1/4 inches in a rectangle, and then I simply went to my templates here once I had cut that out, and I laid it on there and pressed it back and then trimmed away that side. Now keep in mind, because my fabric is facing me as I cut this out, and I did the same on this light pink, the fabric is facing me. I just cut the corner, turned it back, folded it, and cut it to match the template. I was too lazy, I guess, to create the plastic templates to do this, but because the fabric is facing me, it's creating a mirror image of this block. So my pinks are going to be just swapped around, and you'll see that here in a minute. If you want this block to look identical to this heart, then you'll want to make sure that you cut your fabric with your the back of it facing you when you trim off these corners here. And these are the only two pieces you have to worry about, template E and template F. Okay, so I have those ready to go. And this other light pink one here was cut at 1 7/8 inches wide by, I believe it was 8 1/4. Let me verify that for you. And this is, of course, all in there. Yeah, it's 8 1/4 inches long, 1 7/8 inches wide. And these medium pinks, there are two of them. They are 1 7/8 inches wide by 8 1/2 inches long. So we've got light pink, medium pink. These are the backgrounds. Now, all of this is what we're going to be using for our stained glass. And I simply cut a width of fabric strip that was 7/8 of an inch wide, and then I subcut that into 3 that were 3 5/8 of an inch, I believe. Let's see here. Let me find it. Yes, 3 that are 3 5/8 of an inch, 2 that are 7 inches, and 3 that are 8 1/2 inches. There are different techniques that you can use to create stained glass blocks. Often you'll find patterns where they call for a single fold bias tape, and they'll piece the entire block together, and then they will just add the bias tape, which they'll applique across the seam allowances, and that creates the stained glass look. I am going to be actually piecing the stained glass portion with the rest of the block. So that's what I'm going to be teaching you today. So all of these little stained glass pieces are actually going to be pieced into the block. So let's get started. I apologize on that last clip. Bailey, our Boston Terrier, apparently heard the mailman, and so she was having a fit upstairs. So I apologize if that interrupted the video, but hopefully it wasn't so loud that it bothered you. So now we're going to start piecing the center of this block together. And I have laid out the 8 1/2 inch dark strips around these two mediums, and I'm simply going to piece the 8 1/2 inch strips at a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side of this one. Then I'll add this medium one to it. Then I'll add this one to that. Then I will add this light pink to that. And that will connect the entire center of this together. All right, I brought everything over to the sewing machine here, and I have everything laid out. I'm going to start at this end and just simply place these right sides together. You might want to pin it just to keep everything intact as you move it up to your sewing machine. I will take this over to the iron and press it, but for right now I'm just going to finger press. I'm going to finger press everything to that dark seam. So I've got that one done. Now I'm going to bring the dark strip and pin it and sew the other side. And if you get in the habit of sewing with a scant 1/4 inch, maybe a thread less than 1/4 of an inch, that helps with the turn of fabric. Okay, so that one is ready. Now I'm going to add this next medium pink. And I'm simply finger pressing each time. And again, I'm going to finger press toward the dark. So that's done. Now I'm going to add this next dark 8 1/2 inch strip. All right, those are ready. Now we're adding this one. I've sort of laid out the parts and pieces here, and so far this is what I have sewn, and I did press this. Now what we want to do at this point is I want to go ahead and get this section right here sewn together, this pink with this 3 5/8 inch dark strip. Press that back, and then we'll sew this. I believe this was A. We'll need to sew that one on there, and that unit will be done. And then we're going to sew this together, we'll sew this together, we'll sew these together, and these units will square up the block. So notice here, I'm going to make sure that that matches that longer side so that it runs parallel there, and I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch down this direction. Again, I have finger pressed. So now these two sections are ready to go. I can now sew this to this one. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And again, I'm finger pressing. So we have this much of the block ready to go. It's really beginning to look like a heart now. And if you cut your light pink out reverse, then these sections would be just the opposite. This flat side would be over here, and this flat side would be over there. It'd be just the reverse. But what a beautiful little heart. So now all I'm going to have to do is stitch these onto right sides together onto the triangles, on all 4 of these triangles, press it, and then stitch those units onto each side of this heart, and my block is ready. I'm going to go ahead and do that. What you can do to ensure that everything is sewn together properly is basically take your little strips. So these here are the 7-inch strips. I've pressed them in half. So there is a crease mark there, and I'm pressing my triangle in half. So there's a crease mark there. Okay, so the crease mark is here on the center of the long, and here's the crease mark on those. I'm going to make sure you can see this. And then what I'm going to do is put them together. I'm all thumbs here, so that the creases match, and I can sew it on the triangle. I've sewn them all together. I just did it in assembly line fashion. I'm separating them here. And then what I'm going to do is just finger press at this point. So there's that side. There's that one. Here is this one. And here's that one. So I'm going to go ahead and get those stitched on. And you again can press and create creases in the center of each of these sections so that you're sewing these on, and then press a crease in the center of this. And that way everything is sewn on there properly. I'm going to go ahead and sew those on, and I'll bring it right back to the table. The block is ready. I've got it all sewn together and pressed. They do need to be squared up to 9.5 inches. The first thing that we did was we sewed these 3 pinks, the mediums and the light, in between those dark strips there. Then we sewed this section here, which is this pink rectangle with this triangle and this dark section in between. Then we did these outer corners and put it all together. And it's a beautiful little block. I hope you enjoyed putting it together. This block is just in time for Valentine, so maybe you can do a table runner or a pillow. Have fun with it. Hope you enjoyed it. Next time, which is February 3rd, we'll be showing you how to do the cornerstones and the sashing units and, of course, the border. So that will complete the quilt. I look forward to seeing many of your blocks and your quilts and the progress that you're making. out on my Facebook group page, Quilting with Lori, Scrap Up Your Stash. There's a link below in the description box. Please go down there and grab that link, join the group, and start posting pictures of the different blocks and quilts that you're working on. Not just this one, but anything that you're working on. We'd love to see that. Don't forget to grab the PDFs and the template PDFs as well from this class and from all of the classes that I've done so far on the Beginning Quilting class here. And if you do like the content that I provide, please don't forget to like and subscribe and put a comment out there. I love to view comments from my subscribers. And share these videos with your friends, with your quilting friends, with your quilt guilds. All of that really does help my channel to be able to grow and to get out there to other quilters just like yourself. So until next time, happy quilting.